Welcome back to the weight room. We're going to have a great episode today. We have coming on Finny Akers. Check him out on Instagram. We'll have that link down below in the description. Great stuff coming, so stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe to the weight room wherever you listen. Check us out on YouTube. We have some videos up now, actually, some video podcasting going on now. Still have some audio only stuff, but definitely a little mixture of both coming, so stay tuned on our YouTube channel for that, and then also on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, on anywhere you listen to podcasts, really, you can find the weight room. Without further ado, here we go. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your day today and joining us here on the weight room.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If you just want to kind of start things up by telling us a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, my name's Finny Akers. I'm 43 years old. I've been working out fairly seriously, I guess, at different levels since I was 16 years old in high school. Played sports in high school, then in college, and have always been an athlete and someone. My dad was in the Marine Corps, and he always pushed physical fitness and tied mental fortitude and success in life and the lessons you can learn from fitness into that. So that was something that always, fascinated me, and my dad pushed me in that realm. Also something he taught me, which has always fascinated me and had me enamored with health and fitness and working out in general, is it's truly one thing. There's so many uncontrollables in life, that, we can't control what happens to us. We can 100% control how to react to it. But where fitness is concerned, if you educate yourself and then apply that education and you're disciplined, you can really make your body do whatever you want it to do. And that's a pretty incredible thing. And I've done all sorts of lost weight, gained weight, done strength, done endurance. It's pretty incredible. And I think it's one of those things out there that, for me, it helps me just as much mentally to do what I do, because it's this one thing in my life that I have full control over, which, for a lot of people can be calming in an unsteady world. But I grew up in Washington, D.C., and like I said, played sports my whole life. So that's really how I got into fitness to begin with, and then just kept doing it.
You mentioned the adaptations that the human body can undertake, because we really can. Like, if you look at the spectrum of athletes out there, you have people who do ultra marathons, triathlons. Actually, somebody I just talked to, not that they were professional or anything, but they've done a little bit of that. And then you have people out here that can lift 1,000 pounds, but and then there's everybody in the middle that can do a little bit of both. But it's just really cool to me the way that the human body can adapt. And if we just give it time and, have the right principles in place and stick to those principles, that's one of the most interesting parts to me about fitness in general.
1,000%. Me too. It's like, it's like survival and evolution in your body. Your body is reacting to stress you're putting under. And then, if you're great about recovery and nutrition, then your body's going to, like you said, it's going to adapt and make you better at what you just did to keep doing it. So it's pretty incredible. Yeah,
certainly. So you mentioned that your dad was in the Marines. Did he introduce you at all to, I know you said he had like an influence on that, but did he introduce you at all to any like weights at all? Or was it more just kind of the discipline aspect of everything?
Oh, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. He sure did, because, I'm jealous of all these high school students nowadays that play sports, and you see, videos and photos of weight rooms and strength coaches in high schools, and that did not exist when I was younger. And you played sports and you practiced that sport. But my father was the first person he bought me a squat rack and a incline, flat bench, a whole weight tree with like 400 pounds worth of plates and a curl bar. And when I was, probably like 14 years old, he put it in the basement, and him and I used to go down there and work out at nights after school. And then, over the summertime, I lived down there. And it was because, like we were talking about earlier, I was fascinated by like the fact that in 1 month earlier I can only do a certain weight, like a few reps, and then 1 month later, because I've been disciplined and consistent, I could do it for like 10 to 12 reps, and I was obsessed with that. So I spent a lot of time down there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Did he? What was he like to work out with? Was he the drill instructor type, or was he the the just kind of quiet with it type?
No, he definitely was not quiet. He was definitely like a hardcore like drill instructor type, and he used to. I used to wish that I'm glad now in retrospect that he wasn't, because I feel like I'm the man I am today a lot because of stuff he taught me and did. But when other kids would get in trouble, they get grounded. If I got in trouble, he'd make me go run like 5 miles with him nonstop. Yeah, it was awful, but good. I mean, because I got really good at running, and then we were downstairs lifting weights. It was definitely an intense, but conducive atmosphere.
Gotcha. What did that kind of training look like? Like, what kind of background did he have in it, other than just kind of did he have a general understanding of it, or was he kind of in depth of it a little bit more?
Yeah, pretty great understanding of it, because he was it's funny you said drill instructor type, because he was a drill instructor at Quantico when he got out, when he was in Vietnam for like 4 tours, and then when he left Vietnam, he went to Quantico and was an actual drill instructor there, and did a lot of the PT for all those guys. So he knew a lot about endurance training, a lot about weight training, and most of the things that we did were like principles that you would find like in an old school like Muscle and Fitness magazine that like Arnold and those guys did. A lot of high rep, high volume, but pyramid. A lot of it was all pyramids. So starting off, at a weight, doing it, a very, very simple formula that, that's one thing too, I'm sure we'll get into it later, that a lot of people overcomplicate fitness and workout in general. And it's like, it actually, you just need to make it simple for yourself for so many reasons, and it can be simple, and it is. And for him, he was like, hey, whatever exercise it is, for this would be bench, for example. He'd be like, start at a weight you can do 12 times, but the 12th time it's, pretty difficult. You get it up, then bump the weight up and do it 10 times. Bump the weight up again, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. And I would do it every time. And every couple of weeks, every few weeks, once that 12 got easy, I would bump it up 5 pounds and that would be my 12, rep starting weight. And it was like a simple formula, but I went from my junior year of high school, I came back over the summertime. We would do football testing before we left for the summer, and then back in the fall. I think my junior year, when I left, I was like benching, like maybe maxing out like 275. And I did that formula that he taught me that whole summer. When I came back, I think I maxed out like 330 or something like that. And it was crazy.
Wow. That's pretty good progress for over the summer, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I did it every single day. It wasn't the smartest training, because he didn't teach me a lot about, which is something I wish I knew now, but he didn't teach me a lot about, like a whole 360-degree encompassing body like workouts. I did a lot of like benching and curls and tricep stuff and shoulders and delts. Not a lot of lower body stuff, because he was a runner, which I wish I had done back then. But yeah, I probably benched like every single day for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, even when I remember having a fever of like 100 and something degrees in the summertime, I still went down there and did my workout.
There it is, the discipline, the dedication coming in. That's awesome to hear. Talking about that like 360 degree, all encompassing kind of fit body, on your Instagram and stuff, you post a lot about, doing those power movements, or what a lot of people would call like CrossFit movements, the cleans and stuff like that. When did you get into that kind of thing?
That was fairly recently in the grand scheme of things. That was probably about 5 years ago. I was still doing a lot of traditional like bodybuilding type workouts, right? So a lot of isolated movements. Bench press was probably the only like one big compound movement I was doing. And then my workout partner at the time, he lived in Brooklyn, and there was this new CrossFit box opening up. And this is when like CrossFit was really starting to get popular. and people started paying attention to it, and a lot of boxes were popping up everywhere. And we went to this CrossFit box in Brooklyn like the day before it opened, and kind of met the owners and became friendly with them, and they let us work out there that day before the place opened. And then I went there probably for maybe a year and a half straight. And I was traveling, like I was getting off of work, whatever time I was getting off work, I was traveling like an hour and 10 minutes on the train to get there. I wouldn't get home till like 10 o'clock till every night, but I was like my personality is with fitness, I got obsessed with, to your point, they were teaching me all these new, pretty complex, full body compound movements, whether it was, cleans, front squats, jerks, overhead presses. They did a lot of compound movements with regular back squats, deadlifts, all these big barbell movements that, hadn't been that comfortable with, but I just got by in my fitness routine without them for a long time. And when I started incorporating those into my routine on a regular basis, just the amount of like lean muscle and strength and like mobility, my mobility improved. I just became all around more athletic, it felt like.
Yeah, definitely. And actually recently started doing some of those myself. And yeah, it's cool to see when you're doing those isolation movements, you can definitely, have some good benefit to those. But when you see them all work together, it's kind of cool to really see how the body does work together, and you can kind of see where your weaknesses are as well. So, you can go, I need to work on this or that, and, fix maybe my hips, whatever way, or, it's really cool to kind of be exposed to that. Like you said, it was very recently for you.
I mean, you're so right. It's like, not only is it amazing, but it's so important to be exposed to that. And if you have, nowadays, when I was younger, we didn't have, first the internet only came out, when email only came out when I was like in high school. So we definitely didn't have the access like now you can get on your phone if you or I are just learning. Because one thing about those movements is they are complex, but you can break it down into 4 different sections, right? That you have to really master to get it down right, because they can be very intimidating. And unfortunately, like CrossFit does get a bad rap for people getting injured, because some places probably don't do a great job of teaching folks the proper mechanics. And then to your point, also what was so important to me, besides what it did for my body, was what you just said, which it really helped me learn my body to like a whole new intimate level and expose. Before I was always like, when I squat, my lower back is tight. But then when I did all these Olympic movements, I'm like, oh wait, I actually have really poor ankle and hip mobility. How do I address that? And then your back's not tight, So it's like it exposes all these parts of your body that you can work on, and you can find out how to do it, and then you get better at the movements, and your body moves better. And it's very eye opening.
Yeah, definitely. You get to also, like, we were talking about the adaptations. You get to see, the strength adaptations, the power adaptations. You get to see just so many different things that the traditional maybe bodybuilding, workouts don't allow you to see those things easily.
One thing I was thinking about the other day, and I was talking to one of my buddies who has been a strength coach for a while. I love doing deadlifts a lot, but if you go into any Division I or professional athlete setting where they're training, and high school where they're serious athletes, no one's doing deadlifts. They're all doing cleans, and they're all doing overhead press, and they're all doing those Olympic movements, because those, to your point, teach you how your body moves, teach you the weaknesses, and then also really translate to athletics, where explosiveness and strength is key.
Really almost what fitness is evolving into. It's in a way, it's like it's more fun, it's more dynamic, it's more moving. You don't have to, it's not like you're going to go to the gym and hit out a set of name and isolation exercise and just chill out for a minute or whatever, and then, do it again. I think it's just cool how the fitness world is kind of evolving more to that method of training. And
the evolution is very apparent. You're right, which is awesome, because I think it used to, when I was growing up, it was unless you were training for a specific sport and you had a strength coach, like the way people thought of fitness, if it wasn't like aerobics or cardio, the way they thought of lifting weights was, to your point, like going to the gym and staying there for 2 hours and doing a single body part, or maybe like a double body, part for 2 damn hours, doing, isolation exercises, maybe one big movement. That's just not sustainable for folks. And, with these big, Olympic movements and compound movements and the way it's headed, it's helping teach people that you can have a healthy lifestyle and maintain a very athletic lifestyle. And, you 1 hour a day, hell, 45 minutes a day, you can program a WOD and do it in 30 minutes and you've had a damn good workout. And you can do that. That's, the biggest thing for people falling off any fitness routine is if it's not convenient or it's not sustainable. And, these things allow them to be both convenient and sustainable.
If we can get that part you talked about down earlier about the being able to train people, more effectively so they don't get hurt and so it doesn't have such kind of a negative name or negative feeling towards that kind of training, I think then you'll really get to see it boom even bigger, because right now it certainly is getting bigger, but I think that fear is still holding people back, saying, that I don't want to get hurt. I want to go with maybe a perceived more, safe training method and stuff like that. But really the long term, I mean, you just have to be able to sell it that the long term benefits of doing that kind of training are just, you're going to be able to move better when you get older, now obviously too, but there's just so many benefits to it. It's just kind of insane. Yeah.
I'm sure you've probably seen on Instagram those videos of, I saw like a 70-year-old woman the other day and a 90-year-old man who have been doing, compound exercises and strength training their whole life smartly and intelligently, but this old man was repping out like 405 for 5 reps at 91.
That's nuts.
I'm like, yeah. I was like, that's goals right there.
Absolutely.
If anyone's telling you squats are bad for your knees and deadlifts are bad for your back, take a look at this guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Dang, that's nuts too. I mean, that should be, in my opinion, that should be not necessarily literally that exact thing, but that should be the goal for everyone when it comes to their fitness, is just being able to sustain a healthy and a happy life as long as you can. I mean, it's fun to do things that, make us look and feel good right now. That's obviously fun too. But I mean, it's just, I mean, personally, I want to be that kind of person that is able to do that kind of thing when I'm 90 years old. So that's awesome to see.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's so sad when I see friends of mine or coworkers or even strangers that are the same age as I am that have this, because a lot of people have this very negative viewpoint on aging in general, right? Every year they get older, they're like, oh man, I feel it, and I'm not going to be able to do this, and I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm like, you're the only one telling yourself that. And like, sure, if you don't start some sort of disciplined routine, it's only going to compound and be more difficult as you get older to reverse it. But it's possible, and you can definitely do it. You just have to start. And like you said, like when we get older, I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to move pain-free, and it's like, it's those things as you get older that's when the fitness really pays off.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's got to be, as the industry of fitness, I think that has to be more of an emphasis is on, let's look at the long term. And I think it's getting better certainly than it was with all the short term kind of spring break. I mean, it of course there's still that stuff out there. Of course there is, but I think it is getting better. So I think moving towards that is definitely the way to go.
And I think it's getting better in the aspect that you said about, it used to be so working out was really just kind of like bodybuilding stuff in general. And people had, for a long time, the fitness industry had such a negative connotation where it was like aesthetics. It was very, very vapid and shallow because it was really all about what you looked like. And another great thing about these movements is if you're doing these full body athletic movements on a regular basis, and of course, like getting your rest and eating intelligently, your body's going to look how it's supposed to look. Like you don't even need to have any kind of body dysmorphia or think one way, or I need to look like this, because you're doing the right stuff for yourself. And how you look is how you're supposed to look. It used to be people were like, if I don't look like, Mike O'Hearn at like, 3% body fat, I'm not doing the right thing. It's like, no, man, we all have different genetics, and you just got to do the right stuff, and your body's going to do what it's supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. I think it's because, like you said, kind of at the beginning, everybody tries to complicate it, but at the same time, everybody also tries to make it so general, like, we should all look this way, we should all do this. And if you kind of think about it outside of the world of fitness, I mean, it doesn't matter how much I practice playing basketball, I'm never going to be as good as Michael Jordan just because, I go out there and do the same routine he does. We just have different levels of, genetics and different things all around. It's just, we have to get out of that mindset. I completely agree of, I should look like this, or I should because I'm doing what they're doing, or, all that craziness.
Yeah, exactly.
So you talked a little bit and kind of mentioned it about doing deadlifts and stuff, and you have several posts and stuff on your Instagram about doing deadlifts and doing squats. But if you had to choose one, you could only do one of those movements for the rest of your life. From a simple fact of being more enjoyable, which one would it be?
Oh man, that's such a tough one. Because when I started like really, really focusing on back squats and front squats, I was just like enamored with them and obsessed. Like I love doing them. It's like my favorite day of the week. But I love doing deadlifts too. There's something just very like primal and like it just fun about lifting some insane amount of weight off the floor and doing it with relative ease if you're strong enough and have the mechanics. But so I think from an enjoyable standpoint, I would say deadlifts are more enjoyable for sure. But if I had to choose one from like a benefit standpoint, I would choose squats. I think a full body, full to depth squat is just hitting more muscles and more important pieces of your body than a deadlift. And then also, if you can't do deadlifts, I did cleans and overhead presses all summer long. I didn't do deadlifts for like 4 months. I just did cleans probably twice a week in my programming. I came back and I was stronger in my deadlifts than I ever was. So there's always a substitute.
Yeah, I have that same kind of experience when I stopped doing deadlifts for a while, just to kind of switch it up, but also to do different things for my body's sake. I jumped right back into deadlifts, and I was like, dang. I mean, I was doing were some power cleans and stuff like that, but yeah, I could definitely see how my body responded to become stronger, and my deadlift actually increased even though I hadn't done deadlift in a few months. It was definitely a pretty interesting experience, and I think that's part of the fun too. Like in your own personal fitness world, you get to experiment on yourself and do all these different tinkerings, and it's cool when you do kind of make that kind of little scientific discovery on yourself.
Right. And like really for that kind of stuff, like people can tell you whatever they want to tell you, but until you figure it out for yourself, that's the most important thing. And I had that same experience this summer with the deadlifts, and then I had that same experience with like heavy squats this summer too. And it's also something to just giving your body a little bit of a proper rest from those big movements too. But then obviously supplementing it with something that's similar. That's pretty awesome.
And I think that's where, people that don't have that experience or that education or knowledge, getting some type of help is certainly very important to do. It's easy to do a copy and paste program, or it's easy to Google something, but I think for a beginner, it has to be let's go see a professional first. There's so much bad information out there on the internet that I think if you wouldn't go do any other thing that serious, your body's one of the most serious, if not the most serious things you got to take care of. So, you wouldn't do anything that serious without getting, professional guidance. Why would you, mess with your body before you do something like that, is my kind of opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's especially when it comes to the programming, but also like the proper nutrition. Because not only are you gonna, it's just like you said, it's so important because it's your body, and literally there's no cookie cutter routine or nutrition plan that works for everyone. There's variations of it. Like everyone, you have to play with it. Your own body reacts differently to different movements, to heavyweight versus lightweight, to high reps versus low reps. It's so different for everybody. And the same thing for macros too. Like certain carbohydrates, whether they're high quality or not, my body just reacts differently if I eat one or the other. So I know to stay away from one and eat the other. And, if someone's brand new starting out and they don't know anything, seeking, professional advice is crucial, to make an impact right away, but also just not waste your time, because you can also burn a lot of energy and spin your wheels doing that kind of stuff that doesn't work for you. And then unfortunately, most people don't go seek someone's help, and then they end up just quitting and they don't ever do it again. Or they do start again and they do the same thing again for some reason. It didn't work the first time. Why would it work the second time? And then they get frustrated and they quit. And it's like this vicious cycle of never making any progress because they don't change it up.
Yeah, definitely. From the perspective of, wasting some time is a great reason right off the bat to get some help, because you're going to be motivated at the beginning. Of course, you're going to feel good about it. But when you get somebody's help and you're motivated, you're going to see the progress. So that motivation then, turns into consistency. And then when your motivation fades, obviously you built that habit. And, you're on a good program. You have the consistency. It's just, it's a snowball effect. So, yeah, definitely it's time. Time is very important in the equation of fitness. So, the less time you can waste, the more, the more benefit you're going to see in the long run.
Absolutely.
So moving to an experience, an interesting, very, very interesting experience that you have that not too many other people may have, certainly. So let's talk a little bit about your Men's Health Mag experience and, what that was and just kind of what it meant to you.
Yeah, that was, like you said, that was I feel extremely blessed and grateful to have had that experience, because it was certainly one of a kind. It was back in about 2014, I think it was. But, actually a friend of mine who I worked with previously, she was doing work in magazines and print, and then reached out to me and said for the first time ever that Men's Health, because Men's Health typically has like, The Rock or Hugh Jackman or, Ryan Reynolds, like whoever it's all actors and athletes on the cover always, and then maybe a cover model. But they said, for the first time ever, they're going to do a contest to have one of their readers be on the cover of the magazine. And really all you need to do is submit, submit a little bit about yourself, tell them why fitness is important to you, how fitness helped you get through something in your life that was a hard time or a struggle, and, share a little bit about yourself. So I wrote in there, and I didn't know that. I don't know what I thought. I sent it in there, and I thought it was probably going to like, a small panel of people that were going to read it and then just kind of move on. I didn't quite think that everything was going to be shared like it was, or maybe I didn't think that I was going to even get to the point I got in it, because there was like, I think over 5,000 people entered the competition, and it was, I wrote about, I had my parents passed away when I was, just out of high school, and it was pretty traumatic. It was my dad killed my mom and then killed himself, so it was an intense part of my life. Very like not real. It felt like a horror movie. And then my brother and sister were little children at the time, 9 and 8 years old. So that fitness helped me get through that part of my life, because sort of what we talked about in the very beginning of it. My life felt very out of control and chaotic at the time, and fitness was this one place I could go to, and it still is, where the one part of my day that's literally just for me, no distractions. I'm just me, myself, and I, in my thoughts and in my mind, tackling my own challenges I create for myself. I shared that story with them, and one thing led to another, and it was eventually me and two other guys. This guy, Kevon Lake, and then this other gentleman, I don't know if you heard of him, this guy, Noah Galloway, he was on Dancing with the Stars, and he was on, afterwards, he was on Dancing with the Stars, but he's a pretty impressive dude. He was in the Army. I think he was a Ranger, but he got his Humvee blew up in Afghanistan. He lost an arm and a leg. Wow. But he's super into fitness, and it was us three went to Men's Health, and it was pretty incredible. Spent a whole weekend there. I lived in New York at the time, so the traveling wasn't far from me, but they came from different places, and we got to meet and talk and shoot the shit and work out together. And do interviews and get pictures taken. You felt like a little movie star for like 3 days. And then they invited us back in the fall, and we were on Today's Show. They announced the winner, and it was Noah. He deserved it. Noah won, but it was, we've stayed in touch, and I made a lot of friends and at Men's Health and at Kavan and Noah too. But it was an incredible experience, just because for me, I had never shared that part of my past with a lot of people. And, just like I like to share fitness with people and, try to help others around me if they're asking and they need help. I realize that, sharing something, we all have something like that in our life, right? That's very specific, but everyone has something traumatic and awful and sad that's happened to them, right? And it's all about perspective too. Just because something that is not as awful as that, it doesn't mean it's not awful for that person, because that could be the worst thing that's ever happened to them. Right. But sharing that allowed me to see that, when we all share stories like that, and you see someone come out the other end seemingly, stronger and better for it, it's quite inspirational. And, I got to hear other people's stories, and, Kavan was in the Navy, and he coached football at the Naval Academy, and then was a really successful photographer and had a great family. He was like homeless as a child for years and years. Like, this is someone that could have been on the street for forever. Now, I didn't go through that, but that's pretty damn horrible. But his story inspired me, and hearing other people's stories, it was just a really powerful experience in general.
Man, that's crazy.
It was therapeutic for me as well, but to know, because it's like twofold. It's incredible to see people who have gone through any kind of awful experience, and they come out the other side a different, better, stronger version of themselves. But it's also, important to show people that you can turn something really awful after the fact into something very good. If every single one of us uses something that had happened to us in our life to share with someone else, either whether it's during a dark time in their life or not, to share with them that we've been through something, you're turning something very negative into something positive, because it can be used as an agent for change and for inspiration and empowerment.
Getting kind of back to your training and all that stuff, you mentioned that you just kind of recently picked up in the last 5 years doing these, different power movements and stuff like that. But what's one thing now, going through the last 5 years or so, that you have learned to really make that more sustainable? How's your training kind of evolved throughout the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think there's been, honestly, from training from when I was, I don't even know, 16 years old to 43, however many years that is. It's funny you give me that 5 year time frame, because I honestly think in the last like 5 to 7 years, I've learned the most about that's impacted my training in a positive way. And it's on two different fronts. So for me, it's come in the form of the nutrition front, for sure. So I wish I had known back in the day what I know now about, I've always had this goal of fueling my body to increase speed, strength, endurance, stamina, and had a very intense work ethic in the gym. But until recently, probably in the past few years, actually 3 years, I didn't really track my macros, right? I ate very, very healthy and clean, but almost to like a awfully extreme extent, to where it was very like chicken, grilled chicken and broccoli and like rice, like every meal, egg whites and turkey bacon. And I wasn't tracking my macros. And what I came to realize was, once I educated myself on, your age, your weight, what your goal is as far as gaining weight, maintaining, losing weight, what your activity level is, bringing that all into consideration and finding out what your daily caloric intake should be, and then how that spread across your proteins, carbs, and fats, I realized I wasn't eating enough. For years, I've been training and I hadn't been eating enough to even really get to the goals I wanted. So now in the last 3 years, I've probably seen the biggest increase in lean muscle size and strength because all of a sudden the light, turned on. I had this information at my fingertips the whole time, and I was never really diving into it. And, I wasn't eating enough. That was crazy, because most people think they eat too much, right? They think that I'm overweight because I eat too much. And, that's not always the case. It's they're sometimes they're not eating even close to enough, but they're eating so little, their body's putting itself in this like quasi state of starvation. So their metabolism is like a slug, or they're eating the right amount, but not the right things. So the calories are empty and bad for you. But so there's a whole slew of nutritional information that once you get into it, it's not that complicated. And nowadays with our phones, we can all put trackers on our phones to scan things, and it's easy. But that's one huge thing. Nutrition wise, I wasn't eating enough. So now I've been doing that for the past 3 years, and I felt like I've added jet fuel to the fire as far as progress in the gym. So that's been exciting. And then I think from a training perspective, it's been making sure that I know when to listen to my body to actually take. It's like we were talking about earlier, when you're like, yeah, I took time off of deadlifts and did something else. There's that aspect of it, which is so important. But for me, it's listening to my body, and actually, because I'll just go to the gym every single day and train as hard as possible, because that's just how I'm wired. But that's actually bad for my body, because I've injured myself. I've taken steps backwards. I spun my wheels and not made any progress for a while. You have to program in deload weeks, and certainly rest days I'm really good at now, but actual deload weeks where you're doing the same movements and close to the same reps, but your weight is scaled back like 75%. You just got to do that. And I never did that before in my training. And now that I've programmed in deload weeks and have been, working smarter, it's paid off huge.
Yeah, definitely. The need for rest is, I think, kind of overshadowed because of social media. We're all like, oh, let's post our workout. Let's look at everybody else's workout. The workout side, I think, is becoming so popular and so, good that we often forget, oh, wait, our body actually, it needs rest. It wants rest. It's going to be better with the rest.
It's counterintuitive because in my mind, when I was younger and till up to 5 years ago, it was, hey, the harder I work and the more time I spend doing these movements, the stronger I'm going to get. But that's not how it works. To your point, like the rest is more important than the actual what you do in the gym, because you're just carrying your muscles, fibers in the gym, rebuilding them. That's how you're getting stronger and better. And you can't rebuild them if you don't sleep enough, if you don't fuel your body with the right stuff, particularly right after you work out, but then throughout the day. And then also, to your point, if you don't take those rest days or deload weeks, it's like you can work your ass off in the gym, but if you don't take your recovery seriously, you'll take steps backwards, not even spin your wheels.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have, like you did, the best of intentions with being disciplined and wanting to do more, and it's crazy the kind of the opposite effect that does have on your long-term success and injury, getting injured and all that stuff that you would think would be counterintuitive to actually seeing success. But yeah, definitely the rest is important. And then talking about the diet side, I think when you first said you weren't eating enough, that really makes sense with me, because so many people that just come to me, my friends and family even, or how can I improve my diet? What do I need to cut out? The first thing I want them to do is tell me what you are eating in a day. I can't tell you what you need to cut out. I'm probably going to tell you what you need to add more than what you need to cut out, because
exactly,
your body is not literally, but starving. It's craving nutrition. It's craving the nutrients. It's you add a little bit of goodness in, and maybe you just keep what you're doing. You just add some more good stuff in. You're probably not eating that bad. You're just not eating enough. You're not
totally, and not enough. And to your point, not enough of the right stuff. Because and same thing you do with your friends and family. With my friends, my family, when I did do nutritional coaching and personal training, which I don't do anymore, but when I would work with clients too, it was exactly what you said. It was like, tell me what you're eating to begin with, and 90% of the time, even if they're hitting the caloric intake for the day, it's, you and I both know how hard you have to actively seek out protein if you want to. If you want to have protein in your diet, that's hard. There's fat and there's carbs everywhere, and that's easy to get. But but most people don't eat enough protein, and they don't realize that the more protein you eat, it's a metabolic enhancer, so it's going to help you burn fat, build lean muscle. People have this weird connotation with protein that they think they're going to get like jacked or like muscular. I'm like, you know how hard it is to get jacked? I'm like, people I've been working out for 30 years and I'm still trying to get bigger. It's so hard. I'm like, no, like you need the protein. It's such a key ingredient, and that's why when I build out someone's macros, the very first thing I do is take their body weight and just say, all right, that's your protein in grams. All right. And then it's 4 calories per gram of that protein. Boom. All right. So the rest of that we have to work with calories is between your carbs and your fats. And I used to be so, not intelligent about my macros. I would steer so far clear of fats. I would now, every day now, I have a tablespoon of olive oil when I get up in the morning with my protein shake, because I know how important fats are and like what it's doing in your body and how it's helping your entire system. And I have like, eat all sorts of different carbs, but it's funny now. I talk about it with my wife. Like when we first met, every time she made a meal, I'd ask her, I'd be like, all right, did you use butter for that? Did you? You didn't use olive oil. Like, I don't want any fats. And now, I'm drinking a couple of tablespoons of olive oil a day. And then the ramifications on the body, once you do that, with the body think like literally go into starvation mode and think that those low carb, no carb diets, that's why people balloon back up to the same weight or if not heavier, because as soon as you start eating any of them, your body is like a sponge and it's like, oh, thank God, you're giving me carbs and fats again. And it just like sucks it in there and holds it. And it's like, people don't understand why, it's about, I think, more often than not, and you kind of alluded to it when you spoke about like the spring break, summer break mentality. More often than not, people, fitness is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And more people look at the short game way too much when what they should do is be looking at the long game. And it's because people are so hungry for result. Everyone wants immediate gratification, and that's just not a reality in fitness if you're going to do anything that's actually lasting and quality.
Definitely. That's a struggle for people who know that. I find myself thinking the short term so much, and I got to just step back and think, this isn't that important for me to achieve some kind of crazy, short term goal. It's more about how can I make this sustainable? How can I do this for the long term? But it's just, totally. It's definitely, you gotta be there mentally. You have to almost like split your brain in two and say this side is going to be the smart side and this side is going to be the fun or the short term side, and I got to listen to a little bit of both.
Yeah, and it's like, it's so cliche, but you hear people say trust. I say it all the time to people, but trust the process. You really do have to trust the process, because the same thing in nutrition and the same thing in lifting. Like, as long as you are doing the right things, all of a sudden one day, like, you'll go in the gym and you can deadlift X amount more than you could before, and you're like, oh crap, all right, what I was doing was working. I just didn't see it. Just doesn't happen every single week, especially not as you get older.
Consistency has been my biggest thing in the last couple months, and throughout really this whole year, the new year. That's been my biggest goal, is keeping it less specific to what I want to achieve, because that that's important to know that, but just be consistent in whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then get creative with how can you keep it consistent? Because I know for me, I struggled for a long time with, my commute to work in the city. I used to live outside of the city and have like a hour and 10-minute train ride one way each day, there in the morning, there back each hour and 10. I wouldn't get back, home till like 8:00 at night every day. But I figured out there wasn't a gym near me. There was ones in the city that I belonged to in case I wanted to work out my lunch break, but I got all this stuff at home. So essentially for like 3 years, I didn't really do a lot of barbell movements. For 3 years, I did all kettlebells, dumbbells, sandbags, weight vests, and I've just programmed, CrossFit-esque type workouts, but just like 5 rounds for time, a push movement, a pull movement, a core movement, and then I would do something for abs in there. And, as long as you do that, and that also, it's only 25 minutes of your day, but you extrapolate that over a whole week and you're doing the same amount of reps and body parts you would if you were doing like a traditional, programming in a gym. And it's just about getting creative. So to make it however you can make your fitness consistent, just make it happen, because then you'll stick with it.
You have to enjoy it, and you have to switch it up to not get burnt out on it. Because no matter how much you love something, if you do it over and over and over again, you're gonna get burnt out on it. Even if you don't think you are, you will.
Oh, absolutely. I took a full year off from working out in like 2010, I guess it was, just because to your point, like I loved it, and I love working out, and I love fitness and health and all that stuff, but I just was like, just burn out. And I was like, I still did like sit-ups every morning when I woke up and stretch, but like I didn't go to the gym for a full year. I was like, I need a full mental, that's just like a mental reset.
Right. Be creative and have some fun with it. Because at the end of the day, as serious as you want to be and as disciplined as you want to be about it, at the end of the day, when you're 90, that guy, even though he's still able to do, 400 pounds, he's not really concerned about that. That's just something he can do. That was part of the process. That was part of him trusting the process.
Totally.
It's the whole thing of fitness, I think, unless you're just really a professional at it and that's how you make your money, it should be fun. It should be something that you look forward to and enjoy. It's such a great thing to do, but we also, need to have fun with it.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head right there. That's the key, is figuring out something that you enjoy. And there's so many disciplines out there to choose from and ways to slice it. There's definitely something out there that someone can find that they actually enjoy. And that's the key. Just find, because, I'm every day I'm excited to do my workout, I'm just excited to do it because I know I'm about to do things that I enjoy. And that's the key. If it's something that you hate doing, you certainly aren't going to be consistent with it.
Right. And then, it gets you in that negative mindset about it. And then it's just it's a downhill slope from there. So, sustainability is definitely all about, staying consistent, but also, enjoying the process, trusting it.
Yeah.
So talking about sustainability and talking about, being in it for the long term, what are you looking forward to, let's say, in the next 20 years? What is your goal really for the next 20 years in the world of fitness?
I mean, so for a long time, it was for the past, like, I don't know, maybe for the past year, it's been different. But before that, I was really just maintaining, right? I wanted to just stay healthy, cardiovascular wise, strength wise, and just maintain the level I had reached. But now I'm getting fixated on, which is fun for me because I'm definitely someone that likes to have, different people get motivated different ways. And for me, having a goal, like a tangible goal to hit, kind of like how I talked about, working out in my basement in high school over the summertime, because I knew I wanted to hit, 315 or higher on the bench for football tryouts. For me, having an actual tangible goal that, like, saying that I want to get to, in the next, I don't like that when you make them too fast, you put too much pressure on yourself. That's what I've come to realize. When you try to set, and like you said, we're not professional athletes, so there's nothing riding on me having to hit a certain number in a certain amount of time. And I think when you do put a relatively short time frame on things, it puts undue and unhealthy pressure on you, which can push you either mentally to back off or physically to hurt yourself. So I think, in the next 10 to 20 years, I want to get my deadlift up to like 600 plus. I'd like to get my squat to 500. I'd like to get my bench back up to, 425 or above. I'm focusing on big strength compound movements, but also keep sprinkling in all the athletic, the kettlebells and the dumbbells and the cleans and the snatches and the cardio. So it's balanced. But I definitely have, my biggest goals are just strength goals, but doing it in a very smart, strategic, healthy, sustainable way. You
have to, like you said, be smart about the time limits and the time restraints you set on yourself, because because you find yourself sometimes setting these unrealistic goals that you want to achieve. You want to achieve for maybe a certain time of year, a certain, whatever, and then you miss a workout and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to, make up that even that one day I missed, because my schedule is so tight. My goal is set so close that even just having one missed workout or bad workout suddenly throws everything out of whack, and then, like you said, you're mentally just kind of backing off from your goal, or just the whole kind of negative downhill side effects that come with that. So yeah, goal setting can be very important when it comes to your fitness journey, but setting those goals, and I almost said smartly, but smart goals, like obviously that's such a big thing, but having good goals is definitely an important aspect. And yeah, the time factor, and that's a lot 10 to 20 years. That's a lot of time to think about it. And that's a lot of time to, do it in a healthy manner.
Totally. And I think what you just said resonated with me, because I think also that some people make this mistake early on when they start, or if they're new to fitness in general, no matter what age. But I think people tend to think fitness is like either all in or all out. Like when they get into it, it's like consumes their life, right? They like every day they have to do this, and they're missing time with family and friends and loved ones, and losing sleep over it. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. And it actually shouldn't be like that. It should enhance your life, right? It should be a part of your life that is conducive to you mentally and physically, but helps, it takes care of you so you can take care of the people around you, really. And as I've gotten older, I found a way, and it's just trial by error, and continue to educate yourself. But I found a way to get my time in the gym is way shorter than it ever used to be, but the results are way better than they used to be. And then, I have the rest of the time to focus on work and family and loved ones. And fitness doesn't have to take over your life. It shouldn't.
So someone who is just starting out their fitness journey, whether they're, 16, whether they're 56, 66, whatever it may be, what advice would you have for that person?
I would definitely tell them to make sure whatever routine they have, that it's, first of all, that's well-rounded. Make sure that you're hitting, your upper body and your lower body just as much, because fitness is about improving your entire body and your entire health. And actually, if you're focused on one or the other, making your body imbalance is very bad for you. But then I would also say, get comfortable with your body weight movements first, because people are so, kind of what we talked about earlier with the barbells. People are afraid to pick up barbells because they're intimidating, because they don't know how to move, period. So it's like, for whether you're young or old, just starting a fitness routine, and I did this recently with a friend of mine, it was, do body weight squats below parallel, feet flat on the floor, perfect form. Get those down first. Deadlift with a PVC pipe with perfect form first. Squat, like I said, do the bodyweight squats, bench, with just a bar to see what it feels like. And make sure your body patterns are where they're supposed to be before you throw any weight on there, and then ease into it. But definitely don't overlook the compound movements, because they're super important. They hit every single body part. And they're really going to translate into true athleticism and full body transformation. Check the ego at the door. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice too. Like you said, everyone loves to throw up big weight and feel like they're putting up big numbers and looking strong, but you got to check the ego at the door and start small. And if you start small and you start light with the right form, you're going to get stronger much quicker and in a much safer way.
Definitely. I really appreciate you coming on here today.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. This was really fun, and thank you for doing what you do and making this podcast and getting the word out. And I think you said it so perfectly and beautifully at the beginning. It's important for people to hear everything about the whole spectrum of fitness, right? It's so multidimensional, to hear the different stories and the different people and trials and tribulations and success and defeat and ultimately triumph. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
If you want to wrap things up, to just let people know where they can find you, if they want to give you, a follow on whatever platform or whatever, anything else you have going on.
Yeah, for sure. So if anyone wants to follow my deadlifting and cleaning journey on Instagram, I'm at Finn, FIN_fitness, FITNESS. And I'm a big Instagram person, so that's really the only thing I do.
Awesome. Alrighty, that is the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it was certainly a great conversation, and a lot of stuff, personal stuff, fitness stuff, a lot of just great stuff talked about. So once again, make sure you're subscribed to the Weight Room on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. More stuff coming out. So stay tuned for that, and have a great day. Until next time, I'm out.